to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here. Now, here's a question for you. Do you consider yourself an empath? And I have a feeling you might, because there's a lot of people that seek out hypnotherapy and content like this that really do consider themselves empathetic. They really care about other people, they're considerate, and they feel the energy and emotions of other people. So if that feels or seems like you should get some value from this session, because I was working with a client that identified with the phrase, the wounded empath, and they were very kind and considerate, very thoughtful of other people, but that meant they were very vulnerable. They felt manipulated sometimes, and they felt that they couldn't really choose how to be, and they would obsess and think about other people and how they might interpret their behaviors. And this is designed to heal the wounded empath, and to give them a sense of having the best of both worlds, to be kind and considerate, but not necessarily having to take the pain and the wounds and the hurtful energy of other people. And that would be an empowered empath. An empowered empath is someone that protects their own resources, but can still then use those resources to be kind and considerate for other people. It was a client that was going through a breakup, and part of that breakup was them thinking about what could have been, may have been, should they have done anything different. And again, that feeds that wounded empath. So if you can connect with either the idea of feeling sad or attached to a relationship of the past, or that you want to heal something within, I think you'll get some value from this session. It was created for an individual. Some of the suggestions would have been good for them and not quite perfect for you. So if you like the idea of a bespoke session, there's a suitability test that you can find in the show notes that takes 60 seconds. You just click the link, answer a few questions, and it lets you know if you're suitable for hypnosis. But also I've recorded a webinar that actually goes through how I became a hypnotherapist, what hypnotherapy is good for, not quite good for, some of the techniques and approaches that I use, and also 2 different suitability tests that you actually do in real time to figure out, would you be a good candidate for hypnosis? And there's some nice bonuses at the end of that webinar if you stay right to the end. For now though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be distracted or disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in, allow yourself to breathe in a feeling of pure acceptance, accepting everything good and bad. And as you exhale, release any emotions connected to the past, extracting wisdom, but releasing the emotion. Breathing in acceptance, and allow your outward breath to be a release valve of any pent-up emotions, anything that no longer serves a purpose, any regrets, any sadness, any frustration, any guilt, any shame. All these emotions aren't there to punish. They're there to influence the future. And when people feel intense emotions, but it punishes them rather than shapes their future decisions, history has a habit of repeating. And as you breathe in relaxation with that acceptance, allow any thoughts to come to the surface that need fully accepting. And when they come to the surface, they can be released. Because with acceptance, you can set certain things free. Any attachments, any conditions. When you fully accept, things can change quickly, sometimes effortlessly. There's a part deep within your subconscious mind that tries to protect, but it's in conflict with another part that wants to connect. And sometimes it feels like you're pulling in different directions. But what if the part that wants to protect can protect in a new, more elegant way? Through boundaries and standards. And that part that wants to connect can still connect, but by respecting those boundaries and standards. And you don't have to audit every boundary and every standard. You can just decide, based on how you feel, what would be necessary to take the wisdom from the past and protect you in the future, while still making love and connection possible. And maybe there's a boundary that you're not willing to change who you are and what you value for another person. Because maybe in the past, you've deprioritized things that you value to accommodate someone else. But what if that means that you're giving up part of you for the possibility of someone else? The paradox being, sometimes you've lowered your standards and moved your boundaries to improve the probability of something you deeply value. But what if the paradox is that by maintaining or increasing standards, you protect what's vulnerable even more, and you increase the probability of finding something you truly desire? When people feel scarcity, and in a dialogue that says, this one has to work, it has a connotation that what they're considering or pursuing is elusive, vulnerable, fragile. And that inner dialogue changes to, I will have such a good life that I will only consider a relationship if it enhances it. Suddenly means you move from a scarcity to abundance, weakness to strength, fear of loss to feeling fearless, all of which, paradoxically, increase the possibility of attracting something valuable, desirable. I want you to think of a place where you're at your happiest. Maybe near the ocean, maybe somewhere else. And I want you to observe a version of you in your element, where your cup isn't just full, it's overflowing. And you're at your happiest, and you feel fully aligned with your values. And notice that that version of you is less willing to compromise. But that version of you is more attractive to those people that share those same values. As we plant a seed of an idea, the more you live your life on your terms, the higher your standards, the higher your confidence and self-esteem, and the more you attract what synergistically is aligned to who you are at your best. And just observe that vibrant, happy, fulfilled version of you. Notice what you notice. Admiration. Perhaps respect. Maybe inspiration. Some people believe that they need someone else to be complete. They can't be full in and of themselves. People use phrases like the other half and soulmate. But what if the more complete you are as an individual, the more you attract someone that can enhance what is already good? If your unconscious already knows the standards, the boundaries, and maybe the changes required to drift towards that version of you at your very best, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And give that part permission to protect you by being fulfilled. As you breathe in and breathe out, feel a deeper level of personal connection with yourself. Thank that part that was trying to protect, trying to make things work. And you realize that that part was never broken. But maybe it was operating with an old or ineffective strategy. A strategy that perhaps once made sense. But what if that strategy is no longer what's needed in the same way? What if there's a part of you that is finally seen without needing to fix it, repair it, or heal it? You acknowledge it, you thank it, you instruct it to help in ways that actually will help. Allow that part to update any standards that just weren't working. They can be discarded, and any new standards that would actually help you to be discerning, patient, allow those standards to be created. You already know there is a difference between feeling something and becoming it, between noticing someone else's state and losing your own. And as that awareness grows, you may find that you can still understand people, still sense what's happening, but from a place of steadiness, like watching waves, without being pulled under by them. Find the part within you, the part that wants to expand, the part that builds, that chooses, that moves forward, a part that lives life in accordance with your values. And you may imagine your life not as someone waiting, but as something already unfolding, rich with direction, filled with movement, guided by what matters to you. And as that life becomes clearer, there is less need for anything or anyone to complete it. What if you are already complete? You would just like a great life to be enhanced with the right person. Deep down, maybe there's a quiet knowing that your standards were never too much, perhaps only temporarily set aside. And now, without effort, the right standards, the right boundaries begin to return, not as rules, but as reflections. Reflections of how you value yourself, what you'll tolerate and what you won't. And you may notice that holding those standards feels natural, especially in moments where it once felt difficult. Doing the difficult thing means that your standards and boundaries are strong. But when you do them, it means that part within that wants to protect can relax. Boundaries that are clear, boundaries that are enforced, make every part of you feel safe. You've already changed. Change can be a wonderful thing. And I want you to imagine interacting with others. Maybe a future relationship or what may turn into a relationship, but notice that version of you with an absence of urgency, no desperation, no need to rush, no pressure to decide, only space. Desperation and scarcity of any kind increases pressure and creates a repulsion rather than attraction. The paradox being, when you give yourself time, you increase the probability of the right things happening in the right time. So give yourself that space to notice, to experience, to understand. And what if in that space, clarity emerges effortlessly? Because when you're not trying to make something work, you can finally see whether it does. If the key is the wrong key for the lock, forcing the key in the lock doesn't increase the probability of opening the lock. It increases the probability of damaging the lock. Why force the wrong key if you have the space and time to find the right one? And as this continues to integrate, you may begin to discover that those wonderful feelings you looked for, connection, affection, attention, and love, are not things that need to be given to you. They are things you already know how to create in your own way, in your own time. And when that becomes familiar, something shifts. If you are the source of your own emotional needs, you naturally become more discerning as to whether anyone else can enhance what is already there. When you're used to eating delicious meals every day, when there is no hunger whatsoever, the probability that you eat rotten, disgusting, or poor quality food is zero. You won't do it because the need is already met. Because relationships are no longer a source of survival. They're an opportunity for something to be shared. And now find that really sensitive part within you. The one that worked so hard to feel everything, to understand everything, to be flexible, to adapt, to change, to make things work. That part that feels deeply may begin to change. Not disappearing, but evolving into something stronger and more discerning, able to understand without absorbing, able to connect without losing yourself. And in that way, you don't lose your empathy. You harness it. You refine it. You dance with it. And I wonder in the days ahead, you may notice a different relationship with yourself, based on respect, not shame, pride, not guilt, discernment, not desperation. And don't be surprised if you introduce boundaries that in the past you would have been reluctant, but now feel empowered as you unleash a new level of agency, self-trust, self-belief. And any connections you choose will feel lighter. They are no longer carrying the weight of your happiness, only the possibility of enhancing it. And if a relationship can't enhance something that's already good, then why would you want it? No loss, just discernment. And if your unconscious is willing to make whatever changes enhance your life, make you feel more aligned, make you feel more worthy and happier in your own skin, irrespective of whoever else is in it. Let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And as you go from that place of observing the happy version of you. Feel like you're leaving as the happy version of you, with an intention to think of life as its very best, but not dependent on any one person, and give yourself permission to go for it. The closer you get to being that ideal version of you, the less you need anything from anyone, and paradoxically, the more likely you are to stumble across the very thing that when you were looking so hard for it was elusive. So breathe in that feeling of pure self-love and worthiness. Thank all of the parts within your subconscious mind for their wonderful intentions, and feel it's time to work as a harmonized team to live your very best life. It's time to float back to the present as you take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I count from 1 to 10, you will awaken a slightly different version of the version of you that's already making progress towards the very best version of yourself. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.